And there are a lot of Browns fans who are here today, and he was signing some autographs. His dad, of course, was here. There he is, cowboy hat and all.
There he is, cowboy hat and all. The Cleveland Browns locker room is now a powder keg, and Coach Prime himself lit the fuse. Deion Sanders has had enough, for real, and when I tell you what just happened between him and Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, you'll see why the whole NFL is watching this like it's the last episode of their favorite show. People, this isn't just about football anymore. This is about family, respect, and a father watching his son get played like a fiddle by a group that doesn't know what it has even when it's right in front of them. Let me give you a picture of what's going on in Cleveland right now. It's completely crazy. Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round pick whose last name made people think he was overdrafted, just joined the NFL's most cursed quarterback team and did something that hasn't been done in almost 30 years. He won his first game. He not only won, but he also made throws that made Myles Garrett, the defensive superstar who usually doesn't care about what the offense is doing because he's too busy trying to catch his breath after carrying the whole team on his back, look up at the Jumbotron with his jaw on the ground like he had just seen a miracle. We are talking about a defensive end who was so impressed by a rookie quarterback's throw that he had to stop and say something about it in public.
Get played like a fiddle by a group that doesn't know what it has, even when it's right in front of them. Let me give you a picture of what's going on.
That's how unique Shedeur's actions were. But this is where it really goes crazy. After just 1 week of practice with the first-team offense, this kid goes out there and throws passes that Browns fans haven't seen their quarterbacks complete since the Clinton administration. He also becomes the first Browns rookie quarterback to win his debut since 1995, ending a terrible 17-game losing streak for rookie starters in Cleveland. What does Kevin Stefanski do? Does he come out and say for sure that Shedeur is the guy going forward? Does he give this young man all the praise he deserves for possibly saving the coach's job and giving the team hope for the first time in a long time? No, he is not sure. He doesn't answer the question directly. He tells everyone the same old coach talk about not getting ahead of themselves and focusing on today. Listen, we trust all of our guys, he said.
The first time I've ever watched him play without me on the sideline. I've never seen him play without me coaching him. So that was strange, but it was good and it was healthy.
I know there's things that he's going to want to do better, but that's why we work. Now think about what happened when Dillon Gabriel was getting completely destroyed week after week, which led to the Browns' terrible 1-4 record in his starts. When reporters asked Stefanski if Gabriel was still the starter after those terrible games, did he say he needed time to think about it? Did he say he wanted to clean up the loss first? No way. He quickly and without hesitation confirmed that Gabriel was still his guy with no questions asked and no need for an evaluation period. Immediate commitment. Do you see the problem here? You can see why Dion Sanders is said to have gone completely crazy when he heard about this, because it's clear what's going on and it smells worse than fish that's been left out in the sun for a week. Kevin Stefanski is treating Shedeur Sanders like a short-term fix, like a placeholder, like someone who has to prove himself every day while Dillon Gabriel gets the benefit of the doubt after many bad games. And that, my friends, is why Coach Prime is ready to fight. Let me explain exactly what happened on that Las Vegas field that everyone is talking about. Shedeur Sanders walked into a situation that would have broken most new players. He's behind an offensive line that isn't very good at protecting him.
Listen, we trust all of our guys. We trust our guys to perform. He's no different. And playing a backup quarterback role, as we've talked about over the years, that's tough to come in there. But we trust him. I know there's things that he's going to want to do better, but that's why we work.
He plays for a team that is 3-8, and their fans have been hurt so many times that they don't even know how to hope anymore. He has been running the scout team for weeks and now has 1 week of practice with the starters. And even with all of that, and every possible disadvantage, this young man went out there and looked like he belonged. The numbers don't tell the whole story. 11 completions on 20 tries for 21 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. That looks good on paper, but it's not great. But when you watch the tape and see the throws he made, and when you know what he was up against, it's clear that something special happened in Las Vegas. That 52-yard bomb to Isaiah Bond was more than just a good throw. While rolling out to his right to avoid pressure, he threw a ball that was perfectly placed and fit into tight coverage downfield. Kevin Stefanski himself said that it was a very hard throw. Translation: most quarterbacks in the league can't make that throw, and a rookie making his first start with little preparation definitely can't. After that, there was the 66-yard touchdown pass to D'Onta Foreman. It was just a simple dump-off 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage at first. Critics want to say that it's all catch and run and that Shedeur shouldn't get any credit for it. But I have a question for you. Why hasn't Cleveland's offense been doing that all season if it's so easy to throw a screen pass and let your running back take it 66 yards for a touchdown? Why did it take Shedeur Sanders one start to make that kind of big play? Because he threw the ball on time. He put it in the perfect spot for his playmaker to do damage, and he made the right choices and timed things perfectly, which the Browns' offense had been missing with Gabriel as their quarterback, and it could have been even better. Jerry Jeudy dropped what should have been another huge gain on a perfectly thrown ball from Shedeur on a rollout. If that doesn't happen, we're talking about a rookie quarterback who has thrown for more than 50 yards and may have even led another scoring drive. But even without that, and even when things that were out of his control went wrong, Shedeur Sanders did enough to earn the respect of Myles Garrett, the trust of his teammates, and most importantly, the right to start again. But Kevin Stefanski won't just come out and say,
have you been keeping up with Shedeur in Cleveland? What's the best piece of advice you've given him as a dad and as a coach?
Be patient and be ready. You got to be ready when it's time. But when it's time, you're going to know. And it's coming up.
There we go.
You know, I got a prediction. I ain't telling nobody. I got a feeling when it's going to go down. But it's going to go down this year.
It's going to happen. All right.
Yeah, he going to get a shot.
And that's all you can ask for as a player. All you can ask for is the opportunity, right?
Tell me this, because this is all over the media, because I know y'all keep it a buck. That's why I love y'all to life.
Yes.
They made a big deal out of Philly called us on draft day.
Okay.
They didn't mention that. I just let a cat out of the bag.
I didn't know that. Yeah, okay.
Who was it? Baltimore. And the Browns.
Yeah.
And the Browns. They forget, I know, I played for Baltimore, so me and Ozzy are cool. So
there you go.
we understood that whole conversation, and he wanted to talk to Shedeur as well as he wanted to talk to me. And I put Shedeur on the phone, and Shedeur, I don't want to say how it went, but how in the world can somebody fault him for saying or thinking, why in the world would I go back up Lamar for 10 more years?
For sure.
I've never sat on the bench and said, well, I learned a lot today.
That is a great quote.
Stefanski finally said on Monday that Shedeur would start against the San Francisco 49ers, but only after he hedged and made it clear that this is a week-to-week evaluation. He said Shedeur deserved another chance because the most important thing for a quarterback is to win, and he was happy that Shedeur had won his first game. He talked about how young players, especially young quarterbacks, need to get better every week. It all sounds good, but you have to remember that he never put Dillon Gabriel through the same level of scrutiny, even though he led the offense to complete irrelevance. Gabriel was the clear starter. Dion Sanders is the one who comes in here, and I can tell you that Coach Prime is not going to put up with any of this. Dion has made it very clear to people in the league that he sees what's going on in Cleveland and that he won't sit back and let his son be disrespected. This isn't about a dad being too protective or not being able to see his son's flaws. This league has seen Deion Sanders. He knows how to play the game. He knows that politics and how things work in an organization can ruin a young player's career and confidence. And he's watching his son deal with a situation where he's being held to a completely different standard than the guy he's competing with, and it's driving him crazy. The phrase that has been going around, which is said to have come straight from Deion's camp, is short and very hurtful. That's rude. It's hard to disagree with that assessment when you look at the whole picture. Many scouts and analysts thought Shedeur Sanders should have gone higher than the 5th round. So picking him there felt like a slap in the face. He fell behind Gabriel and veteran Dorian Thompson-Robinson on the depth chart. He ran the scout team for weeks, acting like the practice squad quarterback even though he was a draft pick. It was only because Gabriel got hurt that he finally got his chance. And even though he won his first start and showed more promise in one game than the Browns' offense had in weeks, he's still being treated like he's auditioning for a role instead of being given the keys to the team. This is a big point of contention. So let's talk about what it means to run the scout team. When you run the scout team, you act like the other team's offense so that your defense can practice against it. You're not working on the playbook for your own team. You're not getting any practice with the starting offensive line. You're not getting along with the starting receivers. You're basically a human dummy for the defense to practice on while the real starting Kirk gets all the important practice time. That's normal and expected for a veteran backup who has been in the league for a long time and knows the system inside and out. For a rookie who has never played in the NFL and needs every chance to learn and grow, that's almost criminal. Some analysts tried to explain this by saying that backup quarterbacks don't usually get first-team reps. But here's the thing. Those analysts are talking about veteran backups who are there because they don't need practice reps. These are experienced players who can step in during an emergency because they've seen everything before and know how to work within the system without needing to practice all the time. Shedeur Sanders is not that. He was picked in the draft as a rookie and could be the future of the team. He had to spend weeks getting no meaningful development time. And then he was thrown into a start with only 1 week to prepare and still did well. This says a lot about how naturally talented and mentally tough he is. But it also makes you wonder what the Browns are doing to help their players grow. This is what has Dion Sanders so angry. It's clear that his son has the skills to play at this level. He just showed it against the Raiders. Cleveland hasn't had a quarterback with that kind of arm talent in years. He stayed calm under pressure, which was hard for veteran quarterbacks to do. He could throw the ball from the deep ball down the sideline to the perfectly timed screen pass. He did all of this with little preparation and a shaky offensive line in his first NFL start on the road in a hostile environment. And instead of being praised for it and given the full commitment that his performance deserved, he's being told he has to prove it again next week and the week after that with no promise of anything long-term. Stefanski was backing Dillon Gabriel, who is a perfectly good quarterback, but not nearly as good as Shedeur even though the team was losing. Gabriel has a higher completion percentage at 59.2% than Shedeur did in his first game, but the percentage of completions doesn't tell you anything about how hard or good the throws were. Gabriel was making short, safe passes that looked good on paper but didn't help the offense. Shedeur was throwing the ball downfield, putting it in places where his receivers could make plays and pushing the limits of what Cleveland's passing game could be. That's what makes a game manager different from a possible franchise quarterback. There are also big differences in how they look. Shedeur is bigger than Gabriel, has a stronger arm, and can throw the ball farther downfield. He can throw all the passes that NFL offenses need these days. He can throw from different angles, hit his target while on the move, and has the kind of natural arm talent that can't be taught. These are the things that scouts were talking about a lot when he was in Colorado. People wondered why he fell to the 5th round in the first place, and in one start he showed all of them. He showed exactly why people thought he might be a high draft pick before the pre-draft process pushed him down the board. You can tell how the locker room feels about this situation by how Myles Garrett reacted after the game. Garrett, who has seen every quarterback Cleveland has put out there over the past few years and 42 different starting quarterbacks since 1999, was really excited about what he saw from Shedeur. His quote was telling, "There's not many guys in the league that can make that throw. That was a hell of a throw. I hope he can continue to grow and develop from making plays like that." That's not just nice praise. That's a great defensive player who knows that his team might finally have something at the most important position in sport. The picture of Myles Garrett looking up at the video board, his face showing real shock and excitement at what Shedeur just did, that kind of moment can really get a locker room going. Players on defense want to think that what they do matters, that their offense can actually take advantage of holding opponents to a small number of points and win games. That hasn't been the case in Cleveland for a long time. The defense would play really well, but the offense would keep going 3-and. But now that Shedeur is in charge, things look better. People now think that big plays can happen all of a sudden, that the offense can be a weapon instead of a problem. That's why everyone who is watching this situation is so frustrated that Kevin Stefanski won't fully commit to Shedeur. Stefanski had no problem saying that Dillon Gabriel was the clear starter when the Browns were losing game after game with him at quarterback, when the offense was completely stagnant and when opposing defenses were tearing him apart. But now that Shedeur has won his first game and looked better in one game than Gabriel did in several starts, It's suddenly a week-to-week evaluation. We need to see more. All of a sudden there's doubt. This is the kind of treatment that makes young quarterbacks fail. It makes things unclear. It stops them from fully taking charge of the offense and sends a message to the rest of the team that the coaches don't really trust this guy. How can you feel confident going into the next game if your head coach won't commit to you after you win in the most stressful situation possible for a rookie? How can you be the leader of grown men in that locker room when your own coach isn't sure if you're the right person? Dion Sanders knows this better than most people. He played at the very best level. He knows what it takes to make it in the NFL, and he knows how quickly the league can get rid of talented players who don't get the right chances or help. It must be very hard for him to watch his son go through this minefield, especially since he can see so clearly that Shedeur is being held to a different standard than his competitors. No one should be surprised that Dion has been vocal about how unhappy he is with how Cleveland is handling this situation. Let's talk about the big problem now. A lot of people want to ignore anything good about Shedeur Sanders because of his last name. They see Dion's involvement and think right away that this is just favoritism, that Shedeur only got chances because of who his dad is, and that he's not a real underdog story because he had advantages that other players didn't have. And yes, having Deion Sanders as his father and quarterback coach gave Shedeur tools and advice that most young quarterbacks don't get. But here's what those critics don't get. Those benefits don't help you throw a 52-yard touchdown pass when a defender is right in front of you. Those benefits don't give you the strength to throw the ball into tight spaces downfield. Those benefits don't make it possible for you to read defenses and make quick decisions when you're under pressure. Shedeur Sanders had to work hard to get to every level. He had to beat out other quarterbacks to get the starting job at Jackson State. He had to move to Colorado and do well in a big conference against the best teams. He had to show that he was good enough before the draft, even though the people who looked at him didn't think he was as good as his tape showed. Now he has to show that he can play in the NFL, where being the son of a famous person doesn't mean anything if you can't play. There are a lot of sons of great players in the league who couldn't make it as pros. Your last name doesn't matter when it comes to talent. You can either play or you can't. Shedeur Sanders is a good player. He showed it in Colorado, where he threw for more than 3,500 yards and 27 touchdowns in his last season. He showed it in Las Vegas, where he looked calm and sure of himself in his first NFL start, even though he had every reason to fail. And he will get another chance to show it against the 49ers, a much harder test than the Raiders gave. The Browns will have a very hard time deciding what to do at quarterback if he does well again and proves that his Week 12 performance wasn't a fluke. The game against the 49ers is very important. The 49ers have a strong pass rush, complicated defensive schemes, and a front seven that will put Shedeur through more than the Raiders could. This is where we'll really see what the kid is made of. Can he handle the pressure of being an elite quarterback? Can he figure out hidden coverages? Can he make quick choices when the pocket is falling apart around him? On Sunday, these questions will be answered, and the whole football world will be watching to see if Shedeur Sanders is the real deal or if his first game was just a fluke that will go off when he plays better teams. Kevin Stefanski is probably being careful with what he says because he knows this. He can't fully commit to Shedeur and then have the rookie play badly against San Francisco. That would make the coach look dumb and add to the quarterback drama in a team that has had too much of that already. But here's the deal. Stefanski is making it harder for young quarterbacks to succeed by not fully committing and continuing to evaluate week to week. This is the kind of instability and uncertainty that makes it harder for them to succeed. It's a prophecy that comes true. If you don't give your rookie the full support and commitment he needs, he may have a harder time because he has to prove himself all the time. This is why the Browns have had 42 different starting quarterbacks since. It's not just because they've had bad luck or made bad draft picks, even though both of those things are true. It's because the team has never really tried to teach a young quarterback how to play well. At the first sign of trouble, they freak out. Instead of letting their young players work through their growing pains, they hire veterans to compete for jobs. They make up quarterback controversies when there aren't any, and they don't understand why nothing works. The Browns could break that cycle with Shedeur Sanders, but only if they really want to. He has the skills, he has the arm, he has the mental strength and self-assurance to do well at this level. He needs a group that believes in him and gives him the time and support he needs to reach his full potential. And that means he doesn't have to worry all the time about whether one bad throw will send him back to the bench. Dion Sanders is working hard to get his son that kind of chance. He doesn't want to be treated differently. He doesn't want Shedeur to get anything he hasn't worked for. He just wants his son to be treated fairly, to be held to the same standards as other quarterbacks in the building, and to get the commitment and support that performance deserves. If he does well, that's not too much to ask. That's just being polite. Dion is so angry that Kevin Stefanski doesn't seem willing or able to show that basic respect. This is because he has watched his son prove people wrong and overcome doubters at every level for years. Dion thought that maybe, just maybe, a winning performance in Shedeur's first start would finally earn him the respect he's worked so hard for. This was after seeing Shedeur fall in the draft even though he clearly had the talent to go much higher, and after seeing him get buried on Cleveland's depth chart and put on the scout team. It's more hedging, more evaluation, and more uncertainty instead. The truth is that Cleveland is, in terms of making the playoffs, their season is pretty much over. They don't have anything to lose by going all in on Shedeur Sanders and seeing what he can do in the last 6 games of the season. It's okay if he has a hard time. They can get a quarterback in the draft or free agency next year. But if he keeps showing the kind of potential he showed against the Raiders, they might have found their franchise quarterback in the 5th round, which would be one of the best value picks in NFL history. Stefanski, on the other hand, is treating this like it's still a competition. Even though Shedeur's performance gave everyone hope and excitement, he thinks Dillon Gabriel deserves equal consideration, even though he didn't do anything good in his starts. Gabriel is a good quarterback and he will probably be a backup in this league for a long time. Shedeur Sanders, on the other hand, has a ceiling that Gabriel will never reach. He has the body and mind to be a real franchise quarterback. That doesn't mean anything bad about Gabriel. This is just how these two players